researchers, or what was the main goal in trying to have this more exchange?
Researchers, they need to cooperate. Usually they start cooperation at conferences. But in my case, it was easier because I had this colleague who had a long-term cooperation already, so I did not need to establish cooperation myself. But it is very important that the researchers visit each other, because they can visit laboratories, and then they can evaluate what is the infrastructure available at each laboratory, so they can easier plan future cooperation, because if you visit someone's laboratory, you know what is possible and what is not possible. It's very important that your plans are realistic. It's nice to have very ambitious plans, but if they are not based on the established infrastructure, you cannot realize them. So in this case it was important. Also, when we visit each other, we always perform lectures. In my case, I give lectures at a university for the students. The scientists from the Institute of Physics, they gave lectures here in this room last year. So also not only the workers who visit the foreign country, but all other researchers from the Institute of Physics, let's say, can join these lectures and can have their own experience. What is the subject of the study done by our partners? I think that was a crucial part, having this project, this visiting project for visits, before we applied for the Czech Science Foundation, because I expect that during the evaluation process at the Czech Science Foundation, they appreciated that the cooperation is already established and long-term running. And not only established, but we already have published papers together, so we have real results that we can show. So it proves that our promises are realistic and can be done.
Can you imagine that you would start a similar cooperation if you didn't have this very long?
It would be more difficult. In this case, it's also possible, and usually such a cooperation with, I would say, unknown partner, then it started at the conferences, because at the conferences, the scientific conferences, you meet people, you have your own presentation, they have their own presentation, so you can usually people discuss there, they keep discussing all the time in corridors and so on. So sometimes cooperation can be established in this way. But it's more difficult because you start with nothing, and it's always better if you build on already something that is running.
Can you see there any difference when you are trying to start a project with a Taiwanese research institution, or maybe some European research?
Basically,
except the distance.
Distance is a problem, especially it's a technical problem, especially by exchanging samples. It's expensive, you must send the samples, but it's not only expensive, but it's also some samples they don't like traveling. Some samples can be damaged simply by the time that they are exposed to air. For example, we got 2 years ago, we got samples from Japan that they had to be completely coated by polymer and encapsulated, especially by polymer, which we had to remove here. Without this coating, they would not survive the shipment. So this is a technical problem. Otherwise, from the scientific point of view, it's more or less the same as with cooperation we have, for example, from Western countries, because research in material science is essentially the same all over the world. Especially, actually, it is the same in the developed world, or similar. It is similar.
Can we say that in Taiwan there are some specific research institutes that are quite unique that you can't find anywhere else, or were you motivated only by this availability maybe of funds, because this is very important, right? If you have the funds, then probably you pick this institution because of the funds, or is there any other, let's say, comparative advantage there? Is in your field very important?
Yeah. You can establish cooperation with really top research laboratories that have unique facility. That's also many people do. But in our case, our laboratory or the laboratory in Taiwan, they are not equipped with some extraordinary special equipment, but rather it's based on the special knowledge. So laboratories today are, in many cases, they are equipped with a similar equipment, which is not cheap, but it's affordable. So the equipment which they have in Taiwan or which we have here, more or less is comparable. If we would decide to buy the equipment they have, we probably could do it if we want. But the equipment is not enough. We need the knowledge, and often this equipment, it needs years of knowledge to be used really efficiently. So what we are actually buying, I would say, in this cooperation is not the equipment they have, but their knowledge how to work with this equipment and how to interpret the data. It was especially clear when our theoretician, they are working. Actually, theoretical physics is a person who needs more or less only computer and access to internet. So that can be done everywhere. But unless you have very special knowledge in theoretical physics or mathematics, you are not very useful. So that's what this know-how is. What is really valuable.
And in Taiwan, there is this valuable know-how that.
They are experts on the optomagnetical properties, which we do not do here. And I guess that if we would decide to do it here, it would take us years before we reach that level. So it's it's easier for us to cooperate with them rather than to do it ourselves. And it's also a question of time. We don't have time to do everything.
It's interesting what you are saying, because it seems to me that there were no difficulties in terms of maybe cultural differences, or can you maybe recall any challenges to the project that maybe would be caused by different cultures or different research environments?
No, but when the scientists they are talking about their subject, their culture is not so important, because the technical questions are the same and the answers are also the same. It's more, these cultural differences are more visible in personal relationships rather than the subject of our work. So, for example, I also cooperate a lot of with Western Europe research groups. So when I compare Western researchers and East Asia researchers, when we are dealing with the subject of our research, it's more or less the same. But there is a difference of how they deal with you personally. In Western Europe, typically, when I go to visit the laboratory for, let's say, 1 month, they help me at the beginning to find accommodation, and maybe the director invites me invites me to dinner, and that's all. Nobody takes care of what you are doing in your free time or at the weekend. It's your business. Nobody takes care of it. But I was when I visited for the first time Taiwan, I was surprised by the approach. It's quite different. Fortunately, my experienced colleague was with me, so he explained me all these cultural differences. People in the Taiwan, they take care much more about you. So they organized in detail all your free time because they expect that you are expecting that they will take care about you. So it means even at the weekends they take you to visit some shrines or some nature beauties, or they takes you home for dinner. I think they are much more collectively thinking than we are here in individual. That is, of course, if you are in such an exotic country for the first time, it's a pleasure for you because you don't need to think about what to do, in the weekend, for example, and they take care about it. But on the other hand, it's a challenge because I quickly learned that they expect the same when they visit us. And it's actually not so easy because it means that if they are here for 1 or 2 weeks, there must be always somebody who takes care about them. And it means to take holiday, for example, to visit some places. I want to go to Karlstein, for example, so somebody must go there with them. But if you learn their way, you find that it's not so bad and it has advantages. Often people discuss important things not at work in laboratory, but at, let's say, the dinner at the evening. They find some new ideas what to do. So it's valuable. And for me, it was at the beginning a little bit challenging, but I learned it and I like it.
And you also said that you had lectures at Taiwanese universities. Can you compare the Taiwanese students and the Czech students? Can you see any differences, or you think it's almost the same?
It's almost the same. Difference is language skills. Often, many students, they don't have good English. There are big differences in how they speak English. Some of them speak perfect English, and especially those who spent some time abroad. But those who had never chance to go abroad, they in general have problems. So you must use simplified English or repeat your questions, and it looks like they don't understand you. Or, of course, they don't understand you, but it looks like that they don't understand what you are talking about. But they don't understand mainly the language. But I think. When you give them chance, they are hardworking, or at least the students I have met. It seems to me that they are hardworking. I will have one PhD student this summer. He will come in August and start PhD here. It's part of this project, so I'm glad that he will be here, and he's very keen of going to Europe and learn how to live here. So I hope that he will be valuable.
Mm-hmm. And what about the outcomes of your project? Let's say one of the ones that you did with the Taiwanese partners. I suppose that usually probably the outcome is that you publish an article, a joint article in a journal, or there is no application probably in the real life. Or is there any application of your research then in real industries, or in case of your project?
In the case of our project, there are no direct outputs in the industry because it's a basic research project. So we usually distinguish between basic research and applied research. Mm-hmm. Applied research, financed, for example, by Czech Technology Agency. That's a project you have with companies, and the output is a patent or some industrial application, commercial output. But in this case, you was right. The outputs are mainly papers, presentations at conferences, and also the presentation in the school. So I expect that next time I will go to Taiwan. I was there last year, and this year I go there also. I will also give lectures at university. So it's part of our output is that we give lectures to students at university.
So you are not anyhow worried that, for example, some parts of your research maybe someone could quote and without, use without quoting, or did it ever happen to you, for example, in East Asia, that you would do certain research and maybe misused or something like this? Because this is something that worries every researcher, that if they are going to cooperate with counterparts in East Asia, it's going to be a problem in terms of the intellectual property rights, and it's maybe a little bit of prejudice. And it's not true, so I was wondering how this was in your case, or maybe you don't need to be worried because it's a basic research project.
Yes, in the basic research, we don't deal with the intellectual property rights because our results are published, and when they are published, everybody can use them. We have promised several numbers of papers which we must write, and I hope that they will be written, so it will be, this kind of project is evaluated according to scientific outputs, which are public domain, so there is no problem with intellectual property rights. Of course, when you visit someone's laboratory, for example, if we will have the student here, we know that he will learn a lot of things here, and he will use it when he will return back to Taiwan. But that's everybody is agree with, and that's quite. It's actually expected to be also the results of the project. This exchange of ideas. It's kind of cooperation actually. Nobody bothers that he will learn here how to grow our layers, and he will do it in Taiwan.
Yeah. So you have never, even maybe your colleagues have never kind of experienced this fear, or they would say, I'm not going to cooperate with Taiwan because I'm afraid that.
It's the same as if you do research with everybody here. You can do research in the Czech Republic as well, and you can be or don't need to be worried that they will copy your way of working. But without this cooperation, actually, the research would suffer terribly, because if there is no exchange of ideas between scientists, it will significantly deteriorate the research.
And if you look at the way how the research is done in Taiwan, if you said that you visit laboratories and you can compare how these laboratories work, is there any significant difference in the style how the work is done in Taipei, in Taiwan, or in the Czech Republic, or in the
there is no significant difference. The small difference is in the fact that they are doing research at university, whereas we are here not universities, and we are a part of the Academy of Sciences. So they have research more oriented, more connected to teaching, and there are more students involved in the research. But the same difference is here in Czech Republic between our institute and Czech universities. The research at university is a little bit different than the research at the research institute, but it has nothing to do with cultural differences.
Mm-hmm.
The bigger difference would be expected if there would be some specialized laboratory, like some huge facility like CERN or some synchrotron, for example, or there is growing now a big research facility in Czech Republic called ELI, Extreme Laser facility. So these big research laboratories, they have that different regime, but it's not our case. We are small laboratories cooperating.
Mm-hmm. Can you see, because in Taiwan they invest a lot of funds into research and development, generally speaking. In the Czech Republic, the amount of funds is smaller. Can you see that, let's say, the equipment is better, or can you see that there is this difference that will be caused by funds, or it's not visible because, as you said, you need people with experience and.
In our case, the difference is not so big, because we are not cooperating with the high-tech laboratory. The University of Pingtung is focused on education, so their laboratories are like our school laboratories. They are equipped with more standard equipment which you can find everywhere. So we don't see this. We don't see the big difference between our equipment and their equipment. Of course, if I would cooperate with some topic high-tech laboratory, related to semiconductor industry, for example, that would be different, but that's not our case.
Mhm, mhm. What are your future plans with the project, or with the projects that you had in Taiwan? You said that
Yeah.
you submitted some